My wife, a top jewelry designer, always insisted I be the first to wear and showcase her new pieces. So when a rising star actor hit the entertainment headlines, stealing the show with a particular brooch, I called her immediately. I demanded to know why something I hadn't even worn yet was appearing on someone else. She was nonchalant. I can design as many as you want, but without this piece he wouldn't have had his chance to make headlines. I owed him a favor. I had to repay it. Try to be understanding. Yet, in an interview, she turned around and publicly dissed me. Ethan suits this design much better than my husband. I pursue the art of beauty, not turning art into a tool for chasing fame and fortune. I scoffed and immediately called HR. Victoria Ashworth has leaked company secrets. Fire her immediately. Let's see how she pursues her art without me. Chapter 1. Not 10 minutes after the notice went out, Victoria Ashworth burst into my office. Sincere Clark, on what grounds are you firing me? Just because of that brooch? How many times have I told you? It was just repaying a favor. Can you stop being so petty? The door was open. The blinds weren't drawn. Through the glass walls, countless curious eyes were glancing this way. Fine. I slammed my hand on the desk and laid it all out. Me, petty? You're the generous one, aren't you? Using company secrets to repay favors. Victoria Ashworth, don't tell me you didn't know this brooch was custom made for the St. Cini show. St. Cini was a scorching hot couture brand. To promote their new collection, they specifically sought out Clark Jewels, the leader in the jewelry industry, to collaborate on a major fashion show. At the show, St. Cini's head designer would unveil a couture suit he'd spent 3 years designing. As the jewelry provider, and leveraging the Clark family status, I was naturally chosen to debut it. To complement this suit, I had specifically asked Victoria to design the brooch 3 months in advance. I even spent over $10 million at auction on a stunning Zambian emerald, just to perfectly realize her design. But with 2 simple words, a favor, she handed over our joint effort, our masterpiece, to someone else. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, and I let out a sarcastic jab. With that one gift, you threw away millions of dollars. Your sense of obligation is truly monumental, isn't it? Victoria snorted, her expression arrogant, as if certain I was just blowing off steam and wouldn't actually fire her. So what? The fashion show is still half a month away. I can design another one for you. But if you fire me, you'll really have no options left. She stepped closer, leaning on the desk, looking down at me. Sincere Clark, don't forget this brooch is already commanding astronomical prices. Everyone in the circle wants it. Without me, where will you find a better designer? Even if you do, can you guarantee they can surpass the legend this brooch has created? I glared back at her, my presence equally imposing. You think you're the only genius designer in the world? Let me tell you, Victoria Ashworth, just as I had the discerning eye to discover you and build you up, I can just as easily tear you down and throw you back into the mud. Hearing this, she didn't flinch. Instead, she became bolder, a malicious smile spreading across her face. Fine, then I'll be waiting to see it with that. She slapped the signed termination agreement onto the desk, held her head high, and strode out of the office on her heels. Mere minutes after she left, my secretary rushed in, frantic. Mr. Clark, this is bad. Ms. Ashworth destroyed all the design drafts. Chapter 2. What, how dare she? My eyes widened in disbelief. As the head of the design department, all company designs passed through Victoria's hands for final polishing and approval. Her destruction meant the next quarter's new collection likely couldn't launch on time. No wonder she was so audacious. The secretary nervously wiped sweat from his brow. Mr. Clark, should we maybe ask her to come back? I slammed the desk again. And I, Sincere Clark, stand by my word. Backing down to Victoria Ashworth now would be playing right into her hands. And put the next quarter's collection on hold for now. The immediate priority is the St. Cini show. But the design sketches, the secretary murmured worriedly. I looked at my computer, a faint smile playing on my lips. I have a plan. Half a month later, the St. Cini fashion show proceeded as scheduled. When I appeared as the finale model, wearing a silver-threaded charcoal gray suit, all eyes were drawn to the emerald brooch on my chest. Tiny white diamonds encircled 3 Colombian oil-free emeralds, forming the shape of an olive branch. The fire of the emeralds shone mysteriously and elegantly under the runway lights. It complemented the suit's noble austerity without overshadowing the brilliance of the jewels. After a moment of silence, the audience erupted in thunderous applause and gasps of admiration. Camera flashes never ceased. Candid photos leaked by various media outlets and bloggers quickly caused a sensation online. As soon as I returned to the dressing room and checked my phone, the top 3 trending topics were dominated by this brooch. In the comments section, netizens marveled. So beautiful it outshines the camera flashes. Is this the power of 3 emeralds? Forget the sparkle. Did anyone notice the model is Sincere Clark, the heir to Clark Jewels? A true tycoon with serious money. Oil-free emeralds are almost as rare as pink diamonds, and Mr. Clark has 3, all from the best Colombian source. I'm completely devoted. And the largest one is 10 carats. That's 2 carats more than Ethan Miller's piece. This must be worth several fortunes. I smiled, just about to change and head home. Suddenly the door burst open. Sincere Clark, where did you get the design draft without me? I asked you for a 10-carat main stone back then, and you clearly said you didn't have one. You lied to me. Victoria was livid, practically seeing red. I leaned back in my chair, watching her composedly. Clark Jewels has such a vast inventory, it's perfectly normal for me to forget some details. Ms. Top Designer, I told you, you're not the only talented person in the world. With the Clark family's resources, we can find as much talent as we need. Besides, if you hadn't vacated your position, I wouldn't have known we had such a rare genius hidden within Clark Jewels. Just as I finished speaking, a young woman in her early 20s, holding a stack of drafts, squeezed past Victoria and respectfully handed the designs to me. Mr. Clark, here are the proofs for the next quarter's new collection. Please review them. The moment she lifted her head, Victoria's eyes trembled. It's you, Chapter 3. Isabel Davis met Victoria's gaze calmly. Miss Ashworth, long time no see. This greeting was like adding fuel to the fire for Victoria. Well, Sincere Clark, no wonder you were so calm. Turns out you'd already found my replacement. You reject me, a top designer, to promote some greenhorn with no track record. Her gaze flickered between Isabel and me, then realization dawned. Sincere Clark, you're such a hypocrite. Me repaying Ethan Miller's cheating, but you keeping a young mistress is perfectly acceptable. You were so eager to fire me just to promote her. Weren't you? Isabel Davis was a junior designer under Victoria. Whenever I occasionally visited the design department to see Victoria, I'd always notice Isabel glued to her workstation, drawing, often until the early hours of the morning. The night Victoria took that brooch to fawn over Ethan Miller, I went looking for her and found her office empty. Instead, I stumbled upon Isabel's design drafts, exquisitely conceived, with a unique aesthetic sense, easily rivaling, if not surpassing, Victoria's work. I immediately had HR pull Isabel's file. Modest background, but outstanding academic achievements. She had worked her way into a prestigious art college, studied abroad on a scholarship, and had a full page of awards to her name. Yet, at Clark Jewels, she remained an obscure junior designer. After asking around, I learned that Victoria had been deliberately suppressing her, preventing her promotion. She even altered Isabel's brilliant designs, making them mediocre. I had intended to promote Isabel unconventionally, but then Victoria threw her tantrum, making it easy to let Isabel take over this project. Clark Jewels values competence above all. We disdain petty office politics. I reprimanded her sharply. Victoria Ashworth, don't assume everyone is as sordid as you are. Putting aside whether it's true or not, you climbed to your position relying on me. Are you saying no one else is allowed to follow a similar path? Or perhaps you have absolutely no confidence, and the mere presence of another woman by my side sends you into a complete meltdown? Hitting a raw nerve, Victoria exploded. She stormed forward, snatched the drafts from my hand and threw them into the air. "What do you mean I relied on you? The status I, Victoria Ashworth, have today is purely due to my talent and your Clark family. Without my designs, without my years of painstaking effort, would you have achieved what you have today?" The papers fluttered down around us. Looking at the sheer rage on her face, my heart felt like it had been doused with ice water. "Victoria Ashworth, have some decency. If I hadn't pulled you from the rejected list back then, given you resources, given you connections, would you be where you are now? This ugly attitude you have now, does it do justice to me, to the Clark family?" Before I could finish, Victoria grabbed a nearby vase and smashed it violently on the floor. Shards flew, cutting my arm and cheek. Isabel reacted instantly, catching Victoria's arm just as she was about to slap me, restraining her tightly. At that moment, a phone rang, shattering the tense atmosphere. Victoria wrenched free from Isabel, pulled out her phone, and answered. After listening for just a few seconds, her face changed dramatically. "Ethan, don't worry, I'm on my way right now." Chapter 4. Following her to the hospital, I learned that Ethan Miller had broken his arm on set. He was now leaning weakly against Victoria's shoulder, looking vulnerable and wronged. "Vicky, I'm fine. I just got distracted reading the news and missed my step, that's all." Victoria's brow furrowed tightly. "Was it the news about Sincere Clark?" Ethan nodded weakly. "Vicky, please don't blame Mr. Clark either. It was my fault for wearing his brooch in the first place. I was in the wrong. Whatever he does to target me, I can understand. It's just that you got implicated and fired from Clark Jewels. Even him being suspicious because you took care of me a little." Victoria sighed, managing a wry smile. "You silly boy. That year I couldn't swim. I fell into the river and you saved my life. To repay that kindness, I'd do anything for you." Standing outside the half-closed door, through the crack, I could see the tenderness on her face, a tenderness she hadn't shown me in a long time. It was as if the person who had been furious and nearly violent towards me an hour ago was someone else entirely. Hearing her words, Ethan sniffled and sat up straighter in her embrace. "Is it really just to repay the kindness?" Victoria's eyes flickered away for a second. But quickly, she pulled him back into her arms, closed her eyes, and let out a long sigh filled with resentment. "Sometimes I often think, if I hadn't met Sincere Clark back then, would things be different for us? Would we have fallen in love and gotten married in that small town? I'd paint my pictures, you'd sing your songs. Even if we lived in obscurity forever, no one would be happier than us. I think about it day and night, even in my dreams." She grasped Ethan's hand, the love swirling in her eyes, stinging my heart. "Ethan, do you know? Sometimes when I'm holding him, kissing him, even when we're in bed, all I can think about is you." Hearing this, a wave of nausea rose in my throat. So, from that early on, her heart had been split in two. Or perhaps from the very beginning, her affection, her love for me, had all been fake. She was only interested in the status and power behind the Clark name. I fought down the urge to gag and continued watching. Ethan blushed, struggling to avoid her intense gaze. "Vicky, don't joke around. I know I can't compare to Mr. Clark. Without Mr. Clark, your talent would never have been discovered. Compared to living in obscurity, I'd rather see you stand taller, let the whole world see your talent." "No, you don't understand." Victoria cut him off angrily. "Do you know what people outside say about me? Gold digger, slept her way to the top, relied on marrying into wealth to get where I am today. The talent you speak of, in their eyes, it's worthless. But even without marrying him, I, Victoria Ashworth, have the ability to reach this position on my own. Sincere Clark's name has overshadowed me for too long. All my achievements are buried under his brilliance. His family, relying on their power and money, treated me like a workhorse. The slightest displeasure, and they exclude me. They want to ruin my reputation, don't they? They want me to admit I'm nothing without the Clark family, don't they? Well, I won't give them the satisfaction. I want the whole world to hear my name. I will trample Sincere Clark and the entire Clark family under my feet." She spat out each word, a litany of accusations. Yet she failed to mention how I ran around, pulling strings, finding collaborations to bring her designs to life. How, to showcase her art, I bought gems from the best mines, bid on the finest stones. How I handled the networking events she didn't want to attend, the business deals she didn't want to negotiate. How I gave her full creative control, letting her take sole credit for all her work. Supported her jewelry exhibitions. Supported her opening a personal studio. Supported her pursuit of the art she claimed to love. It was her who couldn't bear to leave my side, willingly becoming a regular office employee, clocking in and out, just so she could be near me every day. How did I end up being the controlling tyrant, exploiting her, using her talent for free, dragging her art through the mire of fame and profit? How did our Clark family, who invested money and effort in her, become the irredeemable villains bent on destroying her? Rage surged within me, emotions suppressed for too long finally erupting. I kicked the door open. Fine, you want to prove yourself to everyone, don't you? Then starting today, you are no longer the Clark family's daughter-in-law. We are getting divorced, Chapter 5. Victoria clearly hadn't expected me to be outside. She reacted, about to argue back. But Ethan stepped in front of her, facing me, his eyes red. "Mr. Clark, please don't listen to Vicky. She's just saying things in anger." "As she still loves you. As long as you two are okay, I'd rather you take your anger out on me." "Ethan, why are you still wasting your breath on him?" Victoria pulled Ethan behind her, her face filled with protectiveness, instantly replaced by fury as she looked at me. "Sincere Clark, don't think you can threaten me with divorce. Let me tell you, I never loved you. Not from the beginning. Yes, I was after your money and your power, but that was before now. I have my own. I don't need your pity. If it weren't for you, if you didn't exist, the only person I would have married is Ethan. With that, she tilted Ethan's chin up and kissed him fiercely. Ethan was stunned for a moment, but soon he responded, seemingly content. Right in front of me, they kissed passionately, like lovers facing imminent death before the apocalypse. After a long moment, Victoria finally released Ethan. Seeing the strand of saliva connecting their lips, the desire swirling in their eyes as they looked at each other, I suppressed the rising bile, strode forward, raised my right hand, the one Victoria had cut, and slapped her hard across the face. "Victoria Ashworth, you absolutely disgust me." Victoria touched her reddened cheek. She lifted her chin, defiantly glaring at me. "Sincere Clark, feel better now? You wanted a divorce? Fine, I grant it to you now. Just don't come crying back to me later. I don't know how I eventually left the hospital. All I knew was that Isabel Davis followed me the entire way. Back home, I called my lawyer and drafted the divorce agreement. Then, I threw Victoria's belongings out, piece by piece. The luxurious custom gowns, the exclusive lipstick shades ordered from abroad for her, the matching couple outfits from our early dating days, and every piece of jewelry she had personally designed for me. Finally, all that remained was the wedding ring on my hand, the one we designed together. It featured 2 diamonds, sourced from the same mine, identical in weight. An heirloom passed down since my great-grandfather's time in the early 20th century, symbolizing eternal unity, heart and soul together. I had specifically designed a small mechanism allowing the 2 rings to fit together perfectly, forming one larger, more magnificent diamond ring. Victoria rarely wore hers out. She said it was too precious, afraid she might damage it. I foolishly believed her then. Now, it seemed clear she was merely afraid the ring would hinder her reunion with her old flame. I took off my ring, joined the 2 pieces together, still hesitating whether to discard them as well. Turning, I saw Isabel Davis, who had been quietly helping me pack. An idea struck me, and I handed the combined ring to her. Isabel looked slightly surprised. I quickly explained, "I don't want this ring anymore, but the diamonds are important. Take a month off. I need you to redesign this into something new. It's a separate commission, paid extra, at the highest industry rate." Isabel took the ring, stunned. But the new collection for next quarter? I clapped my hands, pulling myself out of the mire of love and hate, reigniting my fighting spirit. Those drafts are approved. I'll handle the follow-up. Your most important task now is completing this commission for me. Isabel was the type to sacrifice everything for design. The very next day, she became completely unreachable. Fortunately, the remaining work for the new collection only involved selecting pieces, prototyping, and production. I threw myself into work. Apart from a quick trip to City Hall to finalize the divorce, my life became a two-point line between the office and home, often working until 2 or 3 in the morning. Just as I finally reached the 3-day mark before the new product launch campaign, the secretary burst into my office in panic. "Mr. Clark, terrible news. Victoria Ashworth bought sponsored posts and is accusing us of plagiarism all over the internet." Chapter 6. Victoria was accusing us of plagiarizing the emerald brooch designed for the St. Cini show. She had somehow obtained a digital final draft marked March 17th. The design on it was almost identical to the brooch I wore. Holding up her ID card in a video, she tearfully accused Clark Jewels of discarding her after exploiting her work, stealing her design, and firing her without cause. In the accusation video, she didn't mention me by name, but the sponsored articles she paid for were full of me. Gossip sites and influencers hyped up her devoted wife persona, rebranding her past labels of gold digger and social climber into a narrative of deep love. They finished by taking a swipe at me, insinuating there's no true love in high society, and how a loving young woman was tragically betrayed. Naturally, netizens quickly dug up information about me, the actual power holder at Clark Jewels. Following the trail, they also uncovered Isabel Davis. Soon, rumors of an inappropriate relationship between Isabel and me were flying everywhere. The trending topics exploded. The positive image I had previously cultivated was instantly tarnished beyond recognition. Public opinion overwhelmingly sided with Victoria. See, rich guys always have mistresses, and I actually believed in the CEO falls for commoner fairy tale. I always thought Victoria Ashworth was a gold digger, but turns out she's deeply devoted and talented. Talent means nothing. Small-town overachievers are destined to be manipulated by the rich and powerful. A homewrecker who slept her way up can easily take her down. Didn't realize the jewelry world was so full of nepotism. Where's the path for hard workers like us? Totally empathize with Victoria Ashworth now. By marketing her small-town origins and devoted persona, Victoria quickly garnered massive sympathy. Within just 2 days, she was elevated to near sainthood. Her previous designs were unearthed and praised one by one. The jewelry she had sold became highly sought-after collector's items. Her follower count across various platforms skyrocketed, nearing 100 million combined. Countless media outlets scrambled to interview her exclusively. Even the small town she grew up in became a hot tourist spot overnight. Her fame surpassed even the heights she reached when I was promoting her. Meanwhile, Clark Jewels, cast as the villain, faced a relentless barrage of sarcastic and accusatory comments on its official accounts. All our stores were flooded with negative online reviews. People called us plagiarism thieves, greedy capitalists, saying we deserved to be strung up. Some irrational individuals even resorted to vandalism and looting at our physical stores, forcing us to temporarily close for adjustments. Even St. Cini, our collaborator, was affected, facing boycotts both online and offline. Due to the negative publicity, Clark Jewels' stock price plummeted for days, quickly alarming the board of directors. As the person in charge, I was given an ultimatum: resolve all disputes within 7 days or resign. I was frantic, sending people to track down Isabel, who was off the grid somewhere in her creative seclusion. Then Victoria called. "Sincere Clark, regretting it yet?" Her voice was cheerful, clearly relishing my current predicament. I sneered. "I regret not crushing you completely sooner, and I especially regret ever building you up." She remained smug on the other end. "Since you still refuse to back down, just wait and watch Clark Jewels crumble." Don't come crying to me for shelter then. Although if you're willing to kneel and beg, maybe I'll consider giving you a job as my driver. Victoria Ashworth, in your dreams go eat dirt. I cursed her out and slammed down the phone. To say I wasn't angry would be a lie. But that call sparked an idea. I quickly sent several files to my secretary, contact those same gossip sites and online trolls Victoria hired. Tell them I'll pay 10 times their price. Make sure this information spreads like wildfire. Bigger the better, Chapter 7. I chose not to respond directly to the plagiarism accusations, even instructing everyone in the company not to engage. Half a day later, damaging information about Victoria began appearing online. Since it came from the same batch of gossip accounts, even if some suspected Clark Jules was behind it, those suspicions were drowned out by a new wave of public opinion. Victoria staged the whole thing. Everyone involved in the plagiarism scandal is dirty. Victoria had been defiant, leaving the marriage with nothing. Although she made a significant amount of money from the publicity generated by her accusations, it was nowhere near enough to pay 10 times my offer for counter-publicity. Moreover, people in the upper echelons don't shy away at the first sign of scandal like online netizens do. The Clark family had operated in the jewelry circle for generations. Even though tarnished by rumors, our foundation, connections, and influence remained vast. No one dared to disrespect the Clark family before we were truly finished. With a single word, I could ensure no media outlet would take Victoria's business. But that alone wasn't satisfying enough. Victoria struck first without mercy, so I would respond in kind. While her popularity was still high, I pressed the advantage, leaking the story of how she stole the Clark Jules brooch to curry favor with her old flame. This time, not just the jewelry world, but the entertainment industry exploded. The rising star actor Ethan Miller was immediately branded a male homewrecker. Rival fan groups and anti-fans swarmed his comment sections in gleeful celebration. Paparazzi, smelling blood, released over a dozen intimate photos, even more comprehensive than what I had. The previously one-sided public opinion began to slowly shift in my favor. Didn't expect Victoria Ashworth to be such a cheater. No wonder Clark Jules fired her and she left with nothing. Serves her right. No wonder she was pushing the devoted wife narrative so hard. Her husband really drew the short straw marrying her. This is pure corporate espionage, and claiming it was repaying a favor? Just excuses for a gold digger. That was a loss of millions. Sincere Clark handled it directly, didn't jeopardize the Saint Cine collab. A true role model. Netizens debated back and forth, and the plagiarism rumors started to crumble. Just as the online arguments reached fever pitch, my phone rang. 2 messages came in. One from Isabel Davis, finally reachable, Mr. Clark. I will provide an explanation regarding the plagiarism issue. One from the CEO of Ethan Miller's management agency, Mr. Clark, would you happen to be free for dinner sometime in the next couple of days? I smiled and agreed to both. 2 days later, Isabel started a live-streamed clarification. In front of all viewers, she opened the folder containing her design drafts. She displayed them one by one, in chronological order, and coincidentally, one of the drafts was the exact one Victoria had used as evidence. The date was also March 17th. Victoria, who had just joined the live stream, saw this and immediately piped up. My draft is in your possession, and you still claim you didn't plagiarize? You can call me Victoria Ashworth, a gold-digging cheater, but you will not question my art. She sounded righteous, like a martyr preparing for noble sacrifice. Many netizens were swayed, abandoning their neutral gossip mongering to take sides. The chat exploded with fiery arguments between the two factions. Isabel, however, ignored everyone. She calmly zoomed in on the draft, highlighting a tiny, inconspicuous area in the bottom right corner of the brooch design with a red circle. Then, tracing the pattern within the circle, she meticulously drew 2 ornate letters, YX. The moment these letters appeared, the previously clamorous live stream fell instantly silent. Isabel put down her stylus and looked calmly into the camera. Then may I ask, Ms. Ashworth, Why does your draft contain my signature? Chapter 8. It's a personal habit of mine when drafting, Isabel explained. I like to integrate my initials in an ornate script into the pattern of the piece. During production, due to process limitations, the signature isn't visible on the final product. She then proceeded to circle similar hidden signatures on her other works. This has always been my method for protecting my drafts from theft. Surely, Ms. Ashworth, you don't do the same? Or perhaps, Ms. Ashworth, you've changed your name? To Yixuan, Isabel's Chinese name, implicitly referenced here for the Wex perhaps. This swift, brutal takedown caused the livestream viewership to explode. In just 30 seconds, likes surged by over 100,000, with millions tuning in. Isabel gave Victoria no chance to respond, immediately displaying a folder full of chat logs. She scrolled through them for the audience, one by one. They were all work conversations between her and Victoria. Frequently, Isabel would submit a design, and Victoria would nitpick relentlessly, finding fault with everything, forcing her to revise late into the night. In the most egregious instance, she made Isabel revise through the entire night. Victoria didn't show up for work until 3 p.m. the next day, only to casually reply with 3 words, "Too ugly." Redo. Those highly creative original drafts were ultimately mangled beyond recognition by Victoria. Victoria constantly engaged in psychological manipulation, calling Isabel stupid, incompetent, unable to understand simple instructions. The final straw that ignited netizens' fury was a haughty message from Victoria. So what if you have talent? Your background dictates your ceiling. As long as I'm at Clark Jewels, you will never climb higher with that. Victoria's carefully crafted persona of the relatable small-town overachiever collapsed into ruins. Deceived netizens furiously erupted. Small-town girl backstabs. Another small-town girl forgets her roots the moment she climbs the social ladder. If the boss hadn't promoted her, she'd still be earning minimum wage like anyone else. Everyone stopped giving her attention otherwise. Once this blows over, she'll rebrand. As an artsy influencer, waves of ridicule and anger flooded the live chat. Seeing Victoria still trying to struggle, I, having watched silently for long enough, jumped into the fray. Victoria Ashworth, instead of flailing desperately here, why don't you go watch the drama unfold in your old Flames live stream not even a second after I posted? Victoria's avatar vanished from the corner of the screen. Along with her disappeared countless curious netizens, all flocking simultaneously to Ethan Miller's live stream. The stream showed a press conference. Ethan Miller sat on stage, dressed plainly. Below, a crowd of reporters from media outlets big and small had gathered, cameras flashing incessantly. Ethan, eyes red, spoke into the microphone, his voice choked with emotion. Regarding the recent controversies, I want to apologize to everyone. I wish to clarify that I did indeed save designer Victoria Ashworth's life once. However, I was unaware that the brooch she gifted me was stolen property, nor did I know it was a key piece for Clark Jewels' major event. Upon learning the truth, I was deeply dismayed. Through mediation arranged by my company, I have reached an understanding with Mr. Sincere Clark. The brooch has now been returned, and I have compensated him for the damages. As for Victoria Ashworth and myself, apart from the life-saving incident, there is no improper relationship. As rumored online, the words had barely left his mouth when the main doors of the conference hall were kicked open. Ethan Miller, you scumbag. Chapter 9. Victoria Ashworth appeared in the live stream, utterly disheveled. She strode to the front of the stage, pointing at Ethan Miller and screaming, "Say again what our relationship is. Did I force you to sleep with me? Did I force you to be my boyfriend? I gave up the heir to the Clark fortune for you. I threw away such a promising future I didn't even care about my reputation. And now you're saying there's nothing between us?" Her eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging on her forehead, her shouts deafening. Ethan Miller was terrified, frantically trying to save face. "No, that's not it. I just think we're fine as we are now. Vicky, I don't dislike you. It's just It's just that now I have no money and no reputation, and I'll have to depend on you, so you look down on me, right? I'm useless to you now, right? Don't you forget who pulled you into the entertainment industry in the first place, and who risked being fired just to get you one headline." Victoria seemed completely unhinged, staring at Ethan's pale face. Did the reporters scream and scatter in panic? The live stream was cut off at that moment. The final frame lingered on Victoria's vicious, blood-splattered smile. I clamped my hand over my mouth, retching into a wastebasket. Only now did I truly grasp what kind of twisted psycho the person I had shared my bed with truly was. From the very beginning, everything I saw, everything I fell in love with, was her meticulous facade. I couldn't bear to imagine if I had continued to indulge her, whether I would have met the same fate as Ethan Miller. The only thing I could be certain of was that now, everything was finally settled. Victoria Ashworth was quickly apprehended. During her incarceration, I paid off people inside to torment her day and night. Soon the verdict came down. Due to the heinous nature of the crime, the brutal methods, and the immense public impact, she was sentenced directly to death. Fortunately, our jurisdiction still carried out executions. All her crimes could be properly answered for, providing a definitive end for everyone involved, the end a criminal deserved. The online storm gradually subsided, and the company returned to normal operations. In fact, thanks to the reverse publicity, Clark Jewels even managed to capture a younger market segment. I gave Isabel Davis free rein in design, and for several consecutive quarters, sales figures soared. Those old board members who disliked me could only watch in silence. Before the launch of this year's winter collection, I received a letter sent from prison Victoria's last words before her execution. A letter from a murderer would only be nauseating to read. I didn't open it. I burned it completely, and with it, I burned away all the years of love and hatred I had felt for her. As the sun rose again, I thought I heard the distant sound of a gunshot. But what did it matter? I wrapped my coat tighter around me, my leather shoes clicking on the pavement as I walked, step by step, towards the new product launch stage, embracing the brilliant future that belonged to me. The end. On the day of our engagement party, my fiancée, Vivian Thornton, didn't show up. She was busy confessing her feelings to a newly popular actor with citywide fireworks, a stunt that went viral online. I proposed breaking off the engagement. She laughed loudly. "Break off the engagement? Would you really give up the shares in my family's company? Give up our money. You enjoy living off my family's wealth so much. Why stop now?" She didn't know I had already resigned from the Thornton Group's board of directors. I was leaving. The engagement party for Vivian and me was quite grand, with industry elites invited. Because Vivian loved pink roses, the venue was transformed into a sea of flowers with tens of thousands of them. When I appeared in my bespoke suit, I could hear quite a few gasps. "Director Ashton is so handsome. He and Vivian Thornton are such a good-looking couple, a match made in heaven. He's capable, earns money, and handsome. The Thorntons really found a treasure." But the star of the engagement party, Vivian, was nowhere to be seen. Arthur Thornton's expression grew darker and darker. Guests began whispering among themselves. My assistant shook her head at me, indicating they couldn't reach Vivian. A dull ache started in my head. When Arthur had suggested we get engaged, Vivian had seemed nonchalant but agreed readily. At the time, I had even asked if she was sincere, as her attitude towards me lately hadn't been particularly warm. "We'll get married eventually anyway, so if you want to get engaged, fine," she'd said. This made me think Vivian still had feelings for me. It rekindled the flame in my heart that had been considering withdrawal. No matter how rebellious Vivian was, I was different to her. Just like how she used to love following me around, calling me brother again and again. I touched the simple red string bracelet on my left wrist. I had worn it for over 10 years, because it was the first gift Vivian ever gave me. Another assistant urgently called me into the adjacent lounge and showed me her phone. In the video, fireworks bloomed brilliantly across the sky. Beneath them, Vivian, dressed in a shimmering gold fishtail gown, shouted loudly, Ethan Cole, I like you. Ethan Cole was an actor who had just gained prominence from a web series. He shyly accepted the flowers from Vivian's hand and, amidst chants of get together, put his arm around her waist. It was a live stream broadcasted from Vivian's social media account. She was active on social platforms as a socialite, quite popular, with millions of followers. Someone nearby asked Vivian what she liked about Ethan Cole. Vivian flashed a bright, captivating smile. I like his youthful charm and clean-cut look. Everyone laughed. Unexpectedly, Vivian then asked back, "Why don't you ask me what kind of man I hate?" The person next to her reading the room immediately followed up. A mocking smile played on Vivian's lips as she enunciated each word. "I hate those patronizing, daddy knows best, greasy types the most." She stared into the camera, as if speaking directly to someone specific beyond the lens. Perhaps only I knew who she was talking about. Yes, it was me. I did often try to persuade her, stop her, prevent her from participating in activities lacking safety precautions. Once, when she wanted to travel to an unsafe region abroad, I pleaded with her earnestly. She told me irritably, "Have you heard of patronizing men? That's exactly what you are." When I was dressed in a suit, ready to go to the office for a meeting, Vivian's voice sounded behind me. "Sincere Ashton, do you think you look particularly mature and stable dressed like that?" Actually, it's just greasy. Remembering these moments left a bitter taste in my mouth. The live stream chat was flooded with messages like shipping them, and many fans chimed in, "Yes, yes, patronizing boyfriends are the worst, stuck in their ways, preachy, and so pretentious. I hate daddy-type boyfriends the most." I calmly returned the phone to my assistant, devoid of emotion. The engagement party proceeds as planned. If anyone asks, say Vivian is delayed on the way.
Have the PR department handle the scandal Vivian caused this time as soon as possible.
Get it off the trending topics, delete related videos, and manage the media properly. The assistant hurried off to make arrangements, and I completed the engagement ceremony amidst gazes mixed with sympathy and mockery. It didn't matter, as long as it didn't affect the Thornton Group stock. I waited in the living room until the early hours of the morning, finally waiting for Vivian to come home. Arthur Thornton was furious about her absence from the engagement party, threatening to teach her a lesson. I persuaded him to leave. Their father-daughter relationship was already strained, filled with deep conflicts. Scolding Vivian would only backfire. Vivian typically responded better to gentle persuasion than harshness. "Did you need something?" Calling me so many times, blowing up my phone, Vivian tossed her coat onto me, kicked off her high heels, and surveyed me with her beautiful, expressive eyes, which were icy and devoid of emotion. I rubbed my temples, feeling utterly exhausted. Though only in my 20s, I often felt tired. Perhaps my spirit had grown weary, making my body fatigued. No wonder Vivian said I was overly patronizing, like a daddy. "Didn't you know today was the engagement party?" She smirked. I knew. So what? The engagement happened even without me, didn't it? Everyone out there is calling you my fiancé now. Some friends even envy me, saying I found such an outstanding fiancé. Haha, they should be envious of you. If it weren't for the Thornton family, becoming a son-in-law by marriage would grant you a fortune worth billions. I clenched my fists tightly, the knuckles aching from the force. But my voice remained calm. "Since you didn't want it, why did you agree to the engagement? It's hard to explain to the Thornton board. If you liked that young actor, you should have just said so beforehand." "Don't you realize this affects the company's stock?" Vivian scoffed. "Is stock the only thing in your eyes? Only money, right? I didn't agree to the engagement. Could I even refuse? Don't I know that even my social media accounts, my assistant, are controlled by you? You call the shots at Thornton Group. Even the old man listens to you. If I said I didn't want it, wouldn't you just cut off my cards?" I tried hard to suppress my emotions. "I can resign from Thornton Group to avoid any misunderstanding." "Resign?" She paused, then smiled contemptuously again. "Resign and marry me?" "Right, only by marrying me can you truly get your hands on the Thornton family shares. Otherwise, even if you sell your life to the Thorntons, you won't get any shares. The old man is smart, you know. If your last name isn't Thornton, don't even think about getting a single share." A chill went through my heart. Vivian constantly mocked me for only caring about money, often saying I wanted to compete with her for the family inheritance. She was convinced of this, making my defenses futile. Seeing my silence, Vivian's lips curved into a sarcastic smile. "Hit the nail on the head, didn't I? Sincere Ashton, you really know how to endure for money." I could endure a lot, but she was only half right. 15 years ago, my parents died in a car accident. How could a young child protect a large fortune? A relative took everything under the guise of adopting me, then kicked me out. When I couldn't even afford food, Arthur Thornton took me in. I wanted to live, to have a place with food and warmth, and more importantly, a good platform to change my life. It was like a lifeline. I had no choice. The first time I saw Vivian, she gave me a bright smile. "Don't be afraid. My family has plenty of money. No one will bully you anymore." That smile brightened my entire youth. We used to be good. Her heart was full of me and mine of her. But later, everything changed. I became the person she detested most, perhaps because I was diligent and hard-working, while Vivian was playful and rebellious. I gained more favor from Arthur, while Vivian's relationship with him deteriorated. Perhaps because Vivian's mother, Eleanor, discovered my mother was a former classmate Arthur had secretly admired. Eleanor would use my presence as an excuse to argue with Arthur. During their arguments, I would hide silently, and Vivian's gaze towards me grew increasingly complex. When Eleanor eventually passed away from illness, in Vivian's eyes, both Arthur and I became murderers responsible for her mother's death. When she looked at me, her dark eyes were cold and mocking. Anyway, everything had changed. For the next few days, Vivian didn't come home. She was either seen on the set where Ethan Cole was filming or photographed entering a hotel with him. I held the photo of Vivian and Ethan looking at each other. In the picture, Vivian's eyes curved into a smile, a relaxed and carefree expression I hadn't seen in a long time. It was utterly meaningless. I turned the photo over and said to my assistant, "Let's begin." I started the handover process. Since I was resigning voluntarily and leaving Thornton Group willingly, it went smoothly and quickly. Tomorrow would be my last day working at Thornton Group. Finally, I went to Arthur's office. It took me 2 days to convince him. My mind was made up. No one could keep me there. He remained silent for a long time. "You are outstanding. It's Vivian who doesn't cherish you." "Uncle Arthur, thank you. Without you taking me in, I wouldn't be where I am today." Arthur sighed. "The group's successful transformation is largely thanks to you. The group needs you more and more. Can't you stay?" "I'll handle that, young actor." "No need, Uncle Arthur. You can't force happiness." Vivian had always had a string of male companions. The issues between us weren't caused by Ethan Cole. Leaving was better for everyone. Otherwise, how could we start over? No one is indispensable to anyone else. As I was packing my things at my place, Vivian burst in. "Sincere Ashton, was it you who used recasting threats to force Ethan Cole to break up with me? You're shameless, despicable." Vivian had deliberately flaunted her relationship with Ethan Cole publicly, while the news of our engagement had also spread, inevitably causing turbulence for Thornton Group's stock. Thornton Group couldn't tolerate such a situation. It was arranged by Uncle Arthur. Uncle Arthur was concerned about the stock price falling, so he asked me to arrange for someone to talk to Ethan. If he didn't break up with you, he'd be replaced. If he agreed to break up, he'd be given a role in a new production. No need to hide it, just state it clearly. But Vivian wouldn't listen. She panted with anger, her face hostile as she looked at me, suddenly saying, "Are you a lapdog?" I froze. "You listen to everything he says, you do whatever he tells you. You're so obedient. Ever since school you worked so hard to show off, getting all those certificates and trophies, proving how good you are at business. Weren't you just trying to prove you were better than me? I know what you're thinking. You want to change Thornton Group into Ashton Group? Make me listen to you. Well, I won't. I'll never let you two have your way." The same old accusations. I said weakly, "That's not true." I was taken in by Arthur Thornton, who wasn't related to me by blood. If I wasn't obedient and hardworking, how could I establish myself in his family? I had to give something back, so I worked tirelessly, rotating through various departments at Thornton Group since university, and diligently helped Arthur successfully transform the company when it faced operational difficulties. Because of these contributions, I can say with a clear conscience that we are even, the Thorntons and I. Vivian, her face flushed with anger, suddenly doubled over, her expression twisting in pain. One hand clutched her chest, the other gripped the table, her lips turning white. I knew her stomach problem was acting up. She loved drinking heavily at bars and eating cold food, which had eventually caused chronic issues. Her stomach medicine was always kept in the drawer at home. I immediately pulled open the drawer and poured her some water. Seeing her state, she probably rushed over without eating. I quickly went to the kitchen and brought her a bowl of yam porridge. It was a habit. Yam and millet porridge was prepared daily at home, although Vivian rarely drank it. This time, Vivian wasn't stubborn. She took the medicine and after a while clearly felt better. Seeing her brow relax, I said calmly, "Vivian, let's talk. Let's break off the engagement." She laughed loudly. "Break off the engagement? Would you really give up the shares in my family's company, give up our money?" Seeing the serious and calm expression on my face, she spoke ruthlessly. "Is this some kind of tactic? Playing hard to get? That won't work on me. You enjoy living off my family so much, just keep doing it." I placed my resignation letter on the table beside her hand. "The board has already approved my resignation. After we break off the engagement, we're square." Her gaze lingered on the resignation letter for a long time. "You say we're square, and just like that we are? You've eaten our food, lived in our house for over a decade. Everyone says you're the old man's illegitimate son. Those rumors made my mom sick. She died because of you." Her voice choked up as she spoke. "You should talk to Uncle Arthur properly. The reason he took me in, besides his friendship with my mother, was mainly because my parents helped him when he started his business. There are records to prove it." I had told Vivian this before, but she wouldn't listen. There was no point saying more. I turned to leave. Vivian used to be a goddess in my heart. A single word from her could keep me tossing and turning all night, but it takes more than one cold day for a river to freeze 3 feet deep. This didn't happen overnight. It was all over. Vivian suddenly ran after me and grabbed my hand. "Don't you love money? Don't you love the title of heir to the Thornton Group? Why would you suddenly be willing to leave?" There was a hint of nervousness in her watery eyes. Just then, her phone rang. I saw the caller ID displayed Yi. It must be Ethan Cole. I shook off her hand. She declined the call, looking slightly pleased. "So you were jealous. You were angry that I didn't attend the engagement party, weren't you?" "Actually, Ethan and I..." Before she could finish, the phone rang again, incessantly. It was Ethan calling repeatedly. She answered, listened for a few moments, and her expression changed slightly. "Ethan got injured filming. I need to go over there first. I'll explain later. Goodbye, Vivian. Wait for me. We can talk again when I get back." Throwing those words behind her, she left in a hurry, not noticing my packed suitcase in the corner of the living room. I calmly untied the red string bracelet from my wrist and placed it on top of the resignation letter. I boarded a plane and left. I ended up in a small scenic place, planning to spend a year living quietly in seclusion. I turned off my phone and caught up on a very long sleep, but I didn't sleep peacefully. The face of the relative I had painstakingly sent to prison, twisted in resentment, haunted me. "When we split the business your parents and I started together, I took the cash, they took the company. Why did I end up a taxi driver while your family became wealthy? They cheated me back then. I should have taken the company after establishing myself at Thornton Group. I had continuously investigated my parents' car accident, but years had passed and traces had been erased. I don't know how much effort it took to finally bring that malicious relative to justice, and my life changed because of it. Troubling old matters often visited my dreams. Upon waking, I still felt exhausted, unsure if it was due to years of hard work and restless sleep, or the after effects of leaving Vivian finally catching up. Waking up, I felt a sense of disorientation, unsure of who I was or where I was. Stepping out of the small courtyard, however, I saw a familiar figure. Victoria. I squinted, thinking I might be mistaken. Victoria Sterling was my junior from university. I studied business administration. She studied law. We met by chance and, as top students in our respective fields, shared a mutual respect. During the process of bringing my relative to justice, Victoria had been my diligent lawyer, helping me immensely. But beyond that, we didn't have much personal contact. "What are you doing here?" Victoria's eyes crinkled as she smiled. "Here for a retreat, of course." I looked around, and this place seemed the most suitable for rest and seclusion. What a coincidence running into you. Too much of a coincidence. How could her purpose be exactly the same as mine? "Are you hungry? I've made food. Let's eat together." Victoria warmly invited me. I was indeed famished and followed her involuntarily. She lived right next door. This was a relatively well-known leisure and vacation spot. Many people chose to rent a courtyard here, but this was still too coincidental. Victoria set out porridge and simple dishes. "These vegetables are picked fresh from the garden. They taste amazing. Try them." Her house was also simply furnished, clearly indicating she had just moved in too. Victoria was meticulous and serious when working, but definitely not a skilled liar. Her unease was palpable when she mentioned the coincidence. Filled with doubt, I turned and stared at her. Under my gaze, she actually blushed. "You didn't come here because of me, did you?" Victoria's hand serving me rice paused. She bit her lip without speaking. That was a tacit admission. "Why?" Victoria lowered her eyes, then seemed to make up her mind and spoke. "Sincere Ashton, do you think the first time we met was at university?" I nodded. "Yes, at an awards ceremony. We both received awards." "Actually, no. The first time I saw you was one night during my sophomore year of high school. Then, from Victoria's lips, I heard a story from the past, something I had forgotten if she hadn't mentioned it. It was when high school Vivian started skipping classes, getting into fights, staying out late. One night, while searching for Vivian outside, I encountered Victoria being bullied by thugs. You were beaten black and blue, but I was scared and ran away at the time. Later, I found out it was you who saved me. When applying for university, I chose the one you attended. I also learned about your relationship with the Thorntons. Later, getting to know you, earning your trust, and becoming your lawyer. These were all unexpected joys for me. Hearing her mention the Thorntons, my heart inevitably skipped a beat, and I couldn't help but think of Vivian. You don't need to feel grateful towards me. You acted as my lawyer later, we're even. Victoria hesitated, then continued. It's not just gratitude. I heard you broke off your engagement with Vivian Thornton, is that right? I know about your relationship. I fell silent for a moment. Reflecting, Victoria's attitude towards me had indeed been very different. She had done everything possible to help me track down leads and deal with various parties. Her contribution to bringing my relative to justice was significant. It certainly wasn't just about gratitude, but I really wasn't in the mood to consider other things, especially relationships. This year, I just wanted to live a secluded life in the most leisurely way possible. Suddenly, I remembered something. The statement hadn't been released yet. How did she know Vivian and I had broken off the engagement? How did you know I came here? Victoria smiled slyly. Forgot. Your latest assistant was recommended by me. I was speechless. How could I have overlooked such a simple thing? Silence fell between us for a moment. I could only focus on eating. The food is delicious. Her eyes lit up. My cooking skills are quite good. There are several other signature dishes you must try, so you don't mind me being your neighbor, right? A few days later, I finally turned my phone back on. In today's society, true seclusion without a phone is virtually impossible. I had left rather abruptly, so I expected quite a few calls and messages upon turning it on. But the sheer volume, enough to freeze the screen, was something I hadn't anticipated. Even more unexpected was that the vast majority were from Vivian. Sincere Ashton, where did you go? Why aren't you answering my calls? How dare you and the old man decide to break off the engagement? It doesn't count if I don't agree. How dare you break up with me? How dare you? It seemed Vivian had also gone to Arthur Thornton to ask about my whereabouts. Before leaving, Uncle Arthur and I had agreed to release the breakup announcement after 3 months. I had signed the statement and given it to Arthur via my assistant. So, it was the assistant who told Victoria about the broken engagement. Upon hearing this news, she decided to come find me. In just a few days, Vivian had made countless calls and sent messages at all hours. The chat window was filled screen after screen with her messages. It used to be the opposite vast green bubbles of my messages, with occasional brief replies from her when she was in a good mood. I quickly scrolled through her messages. At first they were full of angry accusations. "Sincere Ashton, do you have a conscience? Leaving just like that? Is this how you repay the Thornton family for taking care of you? Do you have any heart? You decided on the engagement, now you decide to break it off? What do you take me for? You're just trying to make me and the old man give you shares, right? Playing hard to get, you're good at this game, huh?" I could almost imagine Vivian smashing things while sending these messages. She never hid her emotions, partly because Uncle Arthur and I had always been incredibly tolerant. Uncle Arthur pitied her after her mother's passing, feeling guilty for being busy with work and surrounded by other women, neglecting his only daughter. And I once loved her. It was love that fueled my tolerance. Later messages showed a change in Vivian's tone. "It's not what you think with Ethan Cole. I started a film company. He's a business partner. Confessing to him was just publicity, a common tactic in the industry. Can't you see that? You always thought I was useless, didn't you? I wanted to achieve something to show you. That's why I started this company." "Why did you leave the red string? Didn't you say you'd wear it forever?" "Sincere Ashton, my stomach hurts." "Where did you go?" The last message was, "I can't find you. Please tell me where you are, okay?" I sighed softly. I hadn't expected Vivian to react so strongly. The feeling of losing control must be very unpleasant, hence her relentless pursuit. It was useless. The old me would have been ecstatic over the smallest kindness, the slightest gentleness from her, devoid of any self-respect. She had been my pillar of support for years. When she skipped the engagement party, when she called me a lapdog, my resolve to leave solidified. Love can fade, and dignity, though perhaps late, will arrive. I turned off my phone again. The secluded life was meaningful. Gardening, cooking, hiking, learning to paint with Victoria. Living life the way I wanted brought immense inner peace. Except for Victoria, stubbornly here. And when I mentioned I wasn't interested in considering a relationship, she quickly insisted we were just friends. Her cooking was indeed delicious, and looking into her innocent, somewhat naive eyes, I truly couldn't say anything else. Returning from outside, I saw someone pacing at my door. It was Vivian. She was thinly dressed, her face slightly red from the cold. Seeing me, she rushed over and hugged me tightly. "Sincere Ashton, I finally found you. They wouldn't tell me where you went. It was so hard finding you. How could you do this to me?" Her words were rapid and angry, carrying a chill. I unhesitatingly pulled her hands away. "Vivian, I told you we broke off the engagement. I also resigned from Thornton Group. We have no relationship anymore. The breakup announcement will be made public in 3 months. Then you'll be free to be with whomever you want. That youthful-looking Ethan Cole isn't bad either. Besides, doesn't this suit look greasy on me in your opinion? Perhaps out of habit I still wore a suit and shirt when going out." She looked directly into my eyes, her expression unreadable. "Does it mean we have no relationship just because you say so? You lived in my house for so many years. The Thornton family practically raised you, right? Would you be where you are today without the Thorntons? And I haven't signed the breakup statement. As long as I don't sign, I'm still your fiancé. You can't run away." I explained my relationship with Ethan Cole in my messages. It was just publicity, nothing else. "The Thorntons can give you shares. Stop acting out." Infinitely annoyed, I lost my patience with her for the first time. "Vivian, you're the one acting out. The Thorntons were kind to me. Uncle Arthur took me in. I'll never forget that kindness. But Uncle Arthur and I have settled our accounts. I helped Thornton Group successfully transform and avoid bankruptcy. I don't owe the family anymore. When I resigned, all accounts were settled clearly. What I have today I earned through my own hard work. If you think I took anything from the Thorntons, feel free to take it back. The corners of Vivian's eyes reddened and she spoke through gritted teeth. You always side with him. You're in league with him, pretending to be nicer to me. Otherwise, what should I have done? Be like you, fighting and skipping school? Transforming Thornton Group wasn't easy. Without Thornton Group, where would your socialite status come from? Where would you get the capital to start your own film company? Her lips moved and she'd for a while, unable to speak. How can you treat me like this? You weren't like this before. No matter how much I acted out, you never spoke to me so harshly. Her tone softened, filled with grievance. So she knew she was acting out. Because I said we have no relationship anymore. Go back. She looked at me mournfully. How can there be no relationship? You were the first person I ever liked. The reason I resented you was because you were close to my father. My mother got sick and left because of that. I know I wasn't good to you, but I've always liked you. I thought no matter what I did, you would never leave me. I felt incredibly weary. Aunt Eleanor's illness was actually hereditary in her family, and Uncle Arthur constantly had mistresses outside. I had explained this to Vivian many times, but you can never wake someone pretending to be asleep. I'm not going back, Vivian whispered, my resolute attitude making her panic. Come back with me. Can we go back to how things were before? For the first time, she spoke to me cautiously. Too late. I turned to walk away, but Vivian stumbled after me. Only after you left did I realize how much I can't live without you, how much I miss you. I looked everywhere for you. A tech-savvy friend finally located you through your phone. As soon as I got your location, I rushed over. I'm so cold and tired. She intercepted me, her eyes welling up with tears. She looked weak and pitiful. Seeing her like this, it was impossible not to feel a flicker of emotion. Just then, Victoria opened her door. She had been cooking in her kitchen when I went out. Vivian was startled to see her. She looked from Victoria to me, anger flickering in her eyes. Who is she? Are you two living together? I was about to explain that Victoria and I had no such relationship, then realized, why should I explain? Victoria looked at me, then walked over and linked her arm through mine. Hello, Miss Thornton. I'm Victoria Sterling, Sincere's girlfriend. The food is ready. Miss Thornton, please come in and join us. Vivian looked at me, waiting for my explanation. Yes, this is my new girlfriend. Perhaps that's another reason I left you. She gave a short laugh, glancing at Victoria with haughty disdain. How long has it been, and you already found a new girlfriend? Sincere, if you're trying to put on a show, at least find someone on my level. I can give you half of Thornton Group's shares. What can she give you? I said coldly, Victoria, a master's graduate from a top law school, founder of her own law firm. Where does she fall short compared to you? She's also my junior from university, and I admire her greatly. Victoria and I stood hand in hand before Vivian. Her face turned pale. Sincere, I'm your fiancé. A smile touched my lips. You didn't even show up to the engagement party. What kind of engagement was that? Vivian froze, her lips trembling. Ultimately, she couldn't utter another word. After Vivian left, devastated, I looked at Victoria, who was busy serving me food, and felt somewhat awkward. Sorry for dragging you into that act. Victoria smiled slightly. It was my honor. Even if it was an act, my feelings for you aren't. She stated it so directly, I was at a loss for words. By the way, there's something I wanted to tell you. I originally planned to wait until after your break, when you decided to work again. But hearing Vivian offer you half her shares made me a little anxious. She opened her phone and showed me a document. I looked at the contents in disbelief. You're the heiress to the Sterling Group? Sterling Group, a conglomerate even more powerful than Thornton Group. That's right. My mother was the first wife of the head of Sterling Group, Reginald Sterling, the wife he cast aside. It's just that his two sons are utterly disappointing. One ended up paralyzed from reckless car racing. The other is a spendthrift wastrel. That's how I got a chance to enter the board. My face felt hot. I used to think hiring Victoria as my lawyer was doing her a favor. In reality, she was probably the one looking out for me. Also, about that time you saved me. Those thugs were actually hired by that idiot half-brother who ended up paralyzed. I wanted to ask, If you decide to work after your break, please consider joining Sterling Group. The position of CEO is open for consideration. Most importantly, I like you. Not because of gratitude, not because I need your help to secure my position at Sterling. It's because I like you. After you saved me that time, the more I learned about you, the more I liked you. It's probably been my secret crush for many years. When you left Thornton Group and broke off your engagement with Vivian, I thought my chance had finally come. That's why I rushed here to find you. Please don't feel any moral obligation towards me because of what I've said. The future of our relationship is entirely up to you. Hearing these words moved me deeply. It was a warmth I hadn't felt in many years, a simple act of kindness from me, and she repaid me with long-absent warmth. "I'll wait for you," Victoria said gently but firmly. Life continued as before. Having someone nearby felt warm and comfortable. Getting to know Victoria from a different perspective, we found we were very compatible. She loved cooking delicious food, and I took care of cleaning chores. Perhaps due to similar upbringing experiences in university life, we had a lot to talk about, often chatting late into the night under the starry sky. Unexpectedly, Vivian came here once again. Her gaze swept past Victoria before settling on me. "Can we talk?" Victoria looked at me, her eyes holding encouragement and persistence. She tactfully walked away. "What do you want to say?" "I'm sorry," Vivian said in a low voice, her head bowed, a rare sight for the perpetually proud Vivian. I shook my head. It didn't matter anymore. "I'm sorry I was always bad to you. There were many misunderstandings between us. When Mom died, I felt so lonely. I hated my father then because he argued with Mom even when she was sick. So I hated you too because you stood with my father. You always listened to him. I also narrow-mindedly thought you only loved my family's money. What I'm sure of is that I truly love you. I just didn't know how to face you, how to love you." I stated calmly, without emotion, "There's no need to say these things. It's all in the past." Vivian raised her head, her voice trembling. "You were always so tolerant towards me. Why can't you tolerate me one more time? Believe me, I'll change." Right. She didn't understand why, after tolerating her for years, I was now so resolute. Because the unequal love had become exhausting. The affection had dissipated. She had freely vented her emotions onto me, never paying attention to my inner feelings. Even when I brought the culprit who killed my parents to justice and recovered my parents' assets, she had said, "Congratulations, you got such a large sum of money." In her eyes, I only loved money. What you call love, I don't consider it love. I don't want that kind of love. Vivian, I won't be waiting for you where I stood before. I won't be your emotional punching bag anymore. We once lived together, ate together, were inseparable. Now mountains and seas lay between us, insurmountable barriers. She looked like a flower struck by lightning, losing her vibrant color. "I can learn how to love you, I can learn." Her eyes suddenly lit up again. "I'm sincere. Look at this." An agreement was presented to me. "This is half of Thornton Group's shares. Consider it proof of my sincerity. Can you please?" I didn't know how she had convinced Uncle Arthur to agree to give me half the shares. "As long as you come back, I'll do anything. Sincere Ashton, I love you." I watched her quietly. Love had already vanished, eroded by day after day of cold violence, harsh words, and suspicion. No one waits forever in the same place. So all her actions failed to move me. "We're finished, Vivian." I stopped her from speaking further. "I won't go back. You should move forward too." Vivian burst into tears, sobbing so hard she bent over, but I never looked back. I returned to the house and saw Victoria waiting inside. Her face was tense as she observed my expression, wanting to ask something but holding back. I smiled. "Shall we climb that mountain tomorrow?" Hearing me say this, her expression immediately relaxed. The next day, we climbed a mountain with incredibly charming scenery. The weather was perfect. At the summit, I set up my easel and started painting. Victoria leaned over. "Your painting skills have improved dramatically. There's real artistic conception here." "It's because I have a good teacher." She stuck out her tongue playfully, looking quite pleased with herself. Thank goodness for her, the days of seclusion were so interesting. 2 people, 3 meals a day, 4 seasons. It felt very much like growing old together. I reached out and gently took her hand. Should we be together from now on? Victoria went from flustered surprise to joy, then immediately squeezed my hand tightly. Of course, the weather was wonderful. The days ahead would be just as beautiful.